Hey, welcome back to the Radical Care for Christian Counselors podcast. If we have not met, hello. My name is Bethany Boring. I'm a certified mental health coach, and I work primarily with Christian counselors, mental health professionals, pastoral care leaders, but really, in all honesty, a lot of my groups, I have normal, everyday people, which pastoral care and Christian counselors are normal, everyday people. But I think a lot of time we expect people to have licenses and certifications and all that good stuff. But I work with both, and I work with those that are professional in what they do, but I also work with moms and dads and missionaries and coaches and so many other different people where they just get burned out on doing the one-on-one. And they really want the deep connection of a small group, and they want the ability to launch that for their ministry, for their business, whatever that looks like. And that is what Step Out and Thrive does in a nutshell. We want deep connection in powerful ways that transforms lives. With that being said, we are right in the middle of a series where I was asked a long time ago and a couple different times to talk more openly about my disabilities and physical challenges. And so that wasn't really an easy question I could just answer in like one episode. So what I decided to do is just record a bunch of episodes back to back to back, addressing each one of my major, at least physical challenges that people notice. And on my next episode, I'm actually going to have my youngest son with me, and we're just going to talk a little bit back and forth about just what maybe makes our family unique and some interesting experiences maybe that we've encountered. So with that being said, the very last thing that seems to be evident to some, not to a lot of people because some people don't know, but I actually have a pacemaker. And that is one of the letters of charge, because charge, usually there's something to do with the heart. There's some kind of issue going on. And so with mine, I noticed it was in between my second and third kiddo being born. And I would just have these weird episodes where I would just pass out for no reason. I would be sitting a lot of times, not even doing any physical activity, and it would just come out of the blue, and my heart rhythm would completely change. So after it happened a couple times, there happened to be a coincidence. That's the only way we know how to explain it, except for I believe it was God's way of showing people what was happening. Luckily for me, I came into the ER for something else, and who knows what it was at that point. And actually right there while I was waiting to see the doctor, I had an episode. And they're like, oh, this is exactly what you've been telling us about. I'm like, oh yeah, like I'm not making it up. And they actually had it on the heart monitor and the whole thing. And so when that happened, they're like, and congratulations, you get to be admitted. And I'm like, hospital food. But anyway, didn't know what was going to happen. And it was through those series of tests that they realized that I would need a pacemaker. And I remember it was around Christmas, and I joked with myself thinking, yay, I get a pacemaker for Christmas. Whoop, whoop. And it was a rush because our insurance was changing, and we're trying to get it in before the physical year ended, because that was a year where I had a lot of different challenges that year. So we were trying to get it in because it was going to be cheaper to do it that year before January hit. So it was a rush to get it in, and we made it work. We made it work. The procedure was not normal by any sense of the means. They decided once they got in there that normal people have their pacemakers on their left, which is closer to the heart, because they were worried about making my left arm weaker, and it's my stronger arm. They decided to put it on my right. And what they essentially did is they cut into muscle that I had been working so hard to develop for my right arm. I ended up losing, I would say, probably 80% of control of my right arm. And I had to go through intense, very intense physical therapy in order to regain strength in that arm. And if you missed the last episode, you can go back and watch that, because I talked a little bit about what God taught me through living life with a short right arm and the assumptions made. But it was worth it. It was worth the hard physical therapy that went into it. So what does this mean for me having a pacemaker and challenges that I've had? Prior to pacemaker, I could pretty much go through metal detectors. They were not an issue. They were a non-issue. After pacemaker, they are a big issue. for the first time in my life, people would, you do get stares. You just do. So once in a while, especially going through airports or going into amusement parks, people would stare, but I would just walk right through. Now I have to get pat down most of the time because I can't go through a metal detector. So now I'm causing a scene. And I just remember the first time this happened, I was like, are you serious? Like, I'm slowing everybody down. And I just felt horrible that it was my fault. It's like, oh yeah, it's your fault that you were having heart challenges, and it's your fault that you have a pacemaker put in. No, not my fault, But what I've learned to deal with, and I've gotten used to the whole pat down thing. I'm still not completely fine about it because it's just awkward. Can we just admit that if you're watching this and you've ever been pat down in a public, you know how awkward that is. We can call it awkward. It is 100,000% awkward. No matter how many times I got it memorized at the airport. This isn't going to hurt. I'm just going to go lightly with my gloves, and then I'm going to test my gloves to see what they feel like. I've got the whole thing memorized. People still do it different ways. So it's still awkward when you're getting pat down. I don't care where it's at. It's just weird. And so anyway, I've gotten used to that. But one thing that I've learned is that as this is going on, I've got a really close opportunity to connect with some of these people that if you think about doing that job day in and day out, patting down people, going through bags, God only knows what they find in those bags, y'all. If you are a TSA employee, God bless you. That's all I have to say. I don't know. I mean, I feel like when I go through security, I'm being like into the military or something. Like they're yelling at you, make sure you get the stuff out of the bag. I'm like, ah. And so it's just so much. But I've realized it's almost an opportunity to connect with these people. And so not all the time, because there's sometimes that it's just, you can just tell these people are like on thin ice and they don't care. But more times I get an opportunity to really connect with these people. And so one time specifically, I remember, and I don't remember where I was, honestly, because I've flown everywhere. And I know I was flying home. I do remember that. And I have my white cane, which I use a whole lot when I'm traveling because my depth perception is just, it's non-existent, especially when I'm traveling and I'm tired. I take my cane. Well, at that point, I had a new tip, which I was really excited about, and it had wheels on it, like a rollerblade or like a scooter or skateboard would have. And it was specifically because I was going under different terrain. So if I'm thinking this might have been my South Carolina trip because I knew that we might go hiking and there were mountains. And so I got this special tip. It might not have been, but that's my guess. So I start to go through the security line and I go to put my white cane actually in the special bin that I'm supposed to put it to. And I remember going down with it kind of quick because I remember feeling I was a little late. No joke. The tip, and this is a hard metal tip with two big wheels on it, right? It flies off of my white cane, clear across the security area. I'm not kidding. Hits an amazing big guy that had a TSA thing, y'all, in the head. Like everybody stopped. You guys know what a challenge it is to have a whole rushing going through security. Everybody stops and they looked at him and they looked at me and they looked back at him. And I just remember going, I don't know what to do right now. Like, I just don't know. And it was so funny. He went down and he looked at it and he slowly made his way over to me. I'm like, and he was big, you all. He was like, I mean, tall and big, and he could have swallowed me up. And he came over to me. He's like, I think this is yours. I'm like, mm-hmm. He's like, is that your cane? I'm like, mm-hmm. It's like, does this go on your cane? I'm like, mm-hmm. He's like, do you want help? And I'm like, part of me's like, nope. But if I say nope, you're probably not going to leave me alone. So I was like, sure. And so he literally, it was so funny. He literally like didn't pick me up. He probably could have, but he walked me through the whole security thing. And it was just so amazing because like, that was probably the best moment I felt because everybody's like looking at me like, yeah, I'm not going to bother you. I'm like, no, you're not. And it was just so cool. And it was the one time I didn't have a pat down. I'm not sure how I passed that, but I didn't have a pat down that time. And so it's just a funny moment because I talked to him later, and the story about this man is that he had a daughter. And I don't know the whole situation, but he hadn't seen his daughter in a very long time. And guess what? His daughter's name was Bethany. And so when he heard my name, he was debating because they say, welcome Bethany or whatever when they check you in. And so he overheard somebody call me that. And he just like asking if there's any way that he could come see me, but he didn't want to be weird about it. It would be kind of weird. And so he's like, what's the chance that your cane tip hits me in the head on the clear other side? And I'm like, yeah, that's a pretty cool moment right there. And so that wouldn't have happened. So I'm starting to learn. I'm like, okay, God, you're putting me into these, in my opinion, awkward opportunities. But at the same time, I get these awkward opportunities. I get these discussions and moments that few people do because let's face it, we're all in a rush. We're all going to get to the next thing. But because I go through life slower and sometimes draw the attention to myself unexpectedly, it allows me to have connections with different people. So what does this mean for you? Well, a lot of times we find ourselves in situations and we go, why me, God? This doesn't make any sense. And because we're angry or we're focusing on ourselves, we miss what God's doing. We miss seeing his fingerprints. We miss seeing how God is actually using that situation. So kind of check where you're looking and how you're viewing things. And second, if you have a cane tip, please make sure it stays on your cane. You could hurt somebody. Seriously. That is your PSA, public service announcement for the day. You're welcome. I hope you're enjoying this series. And if you're listening to any of my crazy stories and you're going, oh my goodness, Bethany, I have another question for you, feel free to message me. It's Bethany@stepoutandthrive.com. And if it's anything, I hope you're walking away from this series. We talked about this the very first episode. It's to stay curious. Don't just assume you know how somebody's life is. Stay curious and ask questions and get to know them. And the more you are doing that, the more you get to see God move in amazing ways. So dare to do more than just survive. Step out and thrive. Go chase beauty. See you guys next week. Bye.